Today I will show you examples of good directing. Each one will be a little different from the previous one, because there are many ways to direct a film well. The first example is this scene from the film Three Colors Red, directed by Krzysztof Kieślowski, a Pole who has created many works. This scene is an example of good use of a static shot. Here, the elements of the presented world adapt to the camera. We see a ship, then the platform rises and stops just when a small gap is opposite the camera. So you can see the ship through it from the perspective of the audience. Static shots are easy to take, but harder to capture nicely. Shots should have a connection and impact on the story being told. For example, the famous recording of someone from below when they have an advantage or from above when they are in a losing position. In Breaking Bad, for example, this beam symbolizes the border between Gus and Jesse. The depth of the frame is also important, which is the case here for example. And there is no depth in this shot. Another way of directing is to adapt the camera to elements of the world. For example, in this scene from Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, the cameraman adapts to Heath Ledger. Although this may be a bad example because it is one of the few situations on the sets of great directors when the actor is so good that even the camera has to adapt to him.
Yeah.
Sam Mendes' 1917 is a film that is supposed to feel like one long take. Of course, in reality it is the actors who adapted to the movement of the camera because everything here was carefully planned. From the viewer's perspective, however, the camera follows the characters who are almost constantly moving, which causes the camera to move as well. Of course, this film is cleverly stitched together shots, but they are also long in themselves. Long takes that are thoughtful and beautiful are a sign that the director and actors have done a good job. The actors, if they were in the frame, because they had to memorize a lot of lines, or play their character for the entire duration of the shot. And the director because he directed the actors well because that is one of his main tasks. For example, in the film There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson, the number of shots is limited and that is a good thing. Quick cuts are usually a sign of a bad director who cannot direct actors for a long time. But of course there are exceptions, for example the film The Departed by Martin Scorsese, for which he won an Oscar. This film has many cuts and quick shots, but it does not matter, because it is a deliberate artistic device in which the shots are beautiful. There are films whose main advantage is beautiful shots, each of them a freeze frame is suitable for a competition for the most beautiful photos. One such film is the beautiful animation Rango by Gore Verbinski. But good direction does not have to include beautiful shots and not every freeze frame has to be beautiful. As Spielberg fans certainly know, there should be depth in the frame and the camera movement must be thoughtful.
Never come out and play on your computer. I'm a hacker. That's what I said. You're a nerd. I am not a computer nerd. I prefer to be called a hacker.
Oh, God.
You know what this is?
Another way of good directing is to cope despite difficulties, e.g. low budget, and to use various tricks perfectly and creatively, e.g. practical effects. Sam Raimi managed this perfectly, creating Evil Dead. Stanley Kubrick, thanks to 2001, A Space Odyssey, transported viewers to space, and Spielberg, thanks to Jurassic Park, allowed viewers to believe in dinosaurs walking in front of the screen. And in Saving Private Ryan he showed the real tragedy of war, which Ridley Scott later did in an equally good way, creating Black Hawk Down. Some directors can visually hint at what will happen later in the film and some are already recognizable thanks to frequently used treatments. For example, Quentin Tarantino for shots from the car *S trunk, and Sergio Leone for close-ups of the eyes. Some shots from well-directed films complement each other. For example, this scene from The Social Network by David Fincher in which the shots are mutual, we have a shot of one team and a moment later we have an almost identical shot of the opposing team. If these shots were single shots, this scene would not be as wonderful to watch. A good director can make even the most ugly thing look beautiful in the frame. A good director applies himself. Unfortunately, George Lucas cut corners when creating the Star Wars prequels. Almost everything was shot on blue screen. There are many ugly and unnecessary shots in those films, for example this one. Good directors have the ability to adapt a static shot and camera movement to the environment in which they find themselves. It is usually beginners creators who improvise in this way. Bigger directors and animation directors have it so much better that the world often adapts to them because some explain to the set designers what the surroundings should look like and others to the animators, thanks to which they can plan the shots before they see the effect of the work of the creators of the place where the scene will take place. Positioning the characters well in the frame and coordinating their movement with the surroundings is very important. The 1996 film Fargo, directed by Joel Coen, is an example of good use of the surroundings and very good placement of actors in the frame.